In this video, I'm going to make some cheap craters for tabletop gaming. Cut out a piece of single corrugated cardboard at about the size you want the crater to be. You could use thin wood bases, MDF is popular, but that requires more tools and material that will likely cost money. Spread some PVA glue in a ring a bit in from the edge of the cardboard. Glue some crumbled up styrofoam to it, to about the thickness and a bit under the height wanted. Then pour some more glue over the top if this is needed. Leave it to dry. Now, instead of styrofoam, you could use aluminium foil or more of the next item I will be using, but this is a way of bulking out the build cheaply. Mix some white PVA glue and water in a 50-50 ratio. I've seen a number of crafters use this method, which apparently comes from DM Scotty. I've linked his video. Add some undiluted PVA to the crater frame, then use kitchen roll, toilet paper or something else suitable and build it up around the styrofoam and in the middle of the frame. Add the sheets and spray them with water, getting them to form around the styrofoam. Once you have enough added, pour some of the PVA mix over it, then put it on a cheap plastic chopping board to dry. Once it's dry, I'm applying some PVA with a wet brush and then leaving it again to dry. The cardboard may warp slightly, though using the toilet paper to the edge and placing it on a chopping board seems to stop or at least reduce this. You could just ignore this, or alternatively, go around the edge with a glue gun with the crater on some baking sheet to give it a flat edge. At this point, you could leave it to dry, give it another once over with pure PVA applied with a wet brush, leave it to dry again, paint it brown with cheap acrylic paint, which may need several coats, and call it done. A perfectly acceptable crater. Brown is used here to represent soil, but you could use grey to represent something such as a lunar crater. You can add more to the crater. Before painting it, you could add a light dusting of sand by adding some PVA, then adding the sand and leaving it to dry. This is sharp sand, which is a mixed type. It may also be called construction sand in other places. Again, you could paint this afterwards. This step is optional, but once it's dry I'm tapping it to remove loose sand, and then using a dropper adding some more of the PVA water mix, this time slightly more diluted with some washing up liquid added to help it flow better, on top of all the bits of sand to help lock it in place. Once it's dry, whether or not you've added any sand, you can give the crater an undercoat with some cheap black acrylic paint. Once the black has dried, I will give it 1 or 2 coats with a cheap brown acrylic paint. At this point you could again call it done, but I'm going to try to do some dry brushing, which admittedly I'm not very good at yet. With dry brushing you remove most of the paint from the brush and then lightly dust the surface. In this case the first dry brush was done with a lighter brown and a normal brush, followed by white with a makeup brush. This is another optional step. I'm covering the crater with Black Magic Craft's basic black wash. This is made from water, acrylic paint and a little bit of washing up liquid. I've linked the video showing how to make it. Again, as an option, I'm adding some twigs, which I've carefully baked in the oven to sterilise, and some stones, which I've done likewise but not quite as carefully, and gluing them to the crater with ordinary PVA glue. Finally, I'm giving the craters a coat with matte Mod Podge to help strengthen and protect them, but be aware that even matte Mod Podge is pretty shiny. You can make the craters as simple or as complex as you want using some pretty basic materials. Want to help support the channel? Then please like, comment, subscribe, share, join our Patreon, or buying through the Amazon or drive-thru links below helps support the channel at no cost to you.